This series is brought to you by you. Thank you so much for all of my patrons and the people who have used the Jackson's affiliate links. It is thanks to you guys that this series have been made possible. Thank you so much. Welcome back to Colossal Color Showdown Season 3. This is episode 9 and we are going to carry on taking a look at the Viridian. Before we get started, please leave a comment even if it's one word. It really actually helps the channel. And share this video if it's useful to you. Thank you so much. Let's get started with the gradation. And I'm actually a little bit surprised with the results I found because granulation colors on the whole tend to not cauliflower, whereas transparent non-granulating colors tend to cauliflower. But we have two transparent non-granulating colors that didn't cauliflower, and we have lots of granulating colors that cauliflowered. So I'm a little bit confused, but let's have a look at each one of them. Smoothest, the most even gradation I would say is the Holbein one. I'm actually really impressed at how smoothly gradating it is. So if you struggle with making a smooth gradation, I think the Holbein one would be a great choice for you. Even though it's really expensive to get outside of Asia, if you do struggle with cauliflowering or uneven gradation, then this is a great option. We get lots of cauliflowering. The Daniel Smith one, Winsor Newton one, M. Graham one, Sennelier, Rembrandt one has some, Old Holland, MaimeriBlu has them. I'm just going to focus on the granulating ones first. And that's a surprise, but it's good to know that they do suffer from cauliflowering right at the most watery part. I do the gradation in 4 stages, and I would argue that Sennelier one, you lose most of your value on the first stage, and the stage 2, 3, and 4 are pretty much the same. So that is not going to give you any control on how it's going to gradate for you. I would say MaimeriBlu, it's so pale to begin with, you don't see much, but again, first stage is a little bit darker than the rest, and the rest are the same. The Daniel Smith one, Rembrandt and Turner one, they seem to be dark, considerably darker on the stage 1 and 2, and then it gets very pale and not much difference between stage 3 and 4. You also get ridging on Daniel Smith, Sennelier, a little bit on the Winsor Newton, definitely on the Rembrandt, very faintly on the MaimeriBlu. Let's take a look at the PG7 one separately, and they actually all suffer from cauliflowering. Mission Gold and Van Gogh loses pretty much all their value after stage 2, and stage 3 and 4 are just like basically no paint there. So if you want to gradate with these colors, you're just going to have to put in extra work that you wouldn't necessarily have to put in with, say, like a color like Holbein. If you're going to do a lot of gradation and if you are not comfortable with the water control on how to avoid the cauliflowering, I would say that the Holbein and dare I say the Turner one, but I don't know about recommending the Turner one quite just yet because I'm not sure if this is how all Turner's Viridian Green performs, because we already saw in the last episode that this paint is a little bit dodgy in quality, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to act like that or if there is an issue with the specific paint of tube that I've got. Do let me know if you do have other Turner ones and if you suffered similar kind of issues that I did in the previous episode. Moving on to the salt test, and on the whole, the PG18 ones, they don't react that much to salt. There's a little bit of reaction going on in the Daniel Smith, especially around the edges, which is nice because granulating colors, they don't tend to react to salt. We have a lot more reaction on the Ken Bromley, the Van Gogh, and the Mission Gold one. Those are the PG7 ones. I am expecting the PG7s to react to salt more. These white, what looks like shooting stars, that's my fault. That's me trying to scrape all the salt off, and I did pull the paper off. So I would say it's partly my fault, but partly also how the paint reacted to the salt, because I scraped the salt off in the same manner for all the other ones, same manner as I do for all of my salt tests that I've done through 3 seasons of Colossal Color Showdown, and I've not had paper pull up like that. I wouldn't say don't use salt with the Mission Gold one. Just be very careful how you remove the salt afterwards, because you might get this shooting star effect, which might be something you want if you're painting Galaxy. I mean, that's brilliant. So the most reactive, I would say, is the Ken Bromley one. You have a lot of reactions here. Let's move on to the cotton ones. And here we have... Actually, I'm going to show you both. So this is the cotton test, and this is the card that I paint to make the thumbnail for this video. And they are both from Saunders Waterford, 100% cotton paper, much better quality paper. And I thought it was really interesting that the amount of granulation shows up a lot more on here, whereas in the cellulose paper, the Daniel Smith was a standard granulating one and the others weren't so granulating. I would say certainly the top row is more even in granulation across the different brands. By the way, if you're confused about which brand's what, it's in the same order as this. So Daniel Smith, Holbein, Sennelier, Winsor Newton and M. Graham, and also Turner are similar in granulation across the board. I think this swatch was a little bit light, so you can't see the granulation as well, but I can see that it's pretty similar in amount of granulation anyway. And here you can see that the granulation is darker, and this is what I was talking about, that this Viridian Hue by Ken Bromley is a lot more like the dusk green that we saw in the Prolene episode, in that you get that dark granulation rather than the same color granulation. It's black almost, the granulating particles. So I would argue that this isn't a great replacement, but also it's a great dusk green alternative if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. But maybe you find the black granulations a little bit too much and you want a little bit more subtler granulation, but also want the two different colors, then I recommend the Ken Bromley one. In terms of evenness, let's look at this. Because it's cotton, more colors are going to be able to be more evenly on the paper than cellulose. But I do see streakiness in the Holbein one, and definitely ridging here on the Ken Bromley one. That may or may not be what you're looking for. But on cotton, most brands are going to be pretty even for you. Let's take a look at the color mixes. And beforehand, can I just say how beautiful these swatches are? So as you know, before I start doing the swatches for how it mixes with other colors, I do a little sample trying to figure out the complementary color to the color I'm testing. And I put down Viridian and then I mix in other colors and see how they mix well. This is how it mixed with Quinacridone Rose by Daniel Smith. This bit and this whole thing is how it mixes with Scarlet Lake by Holbein, and is beautiful, very moody. It's that jewel tone that everyone is talking about last year. I think this Scarlet Lake and Viridian mix is beautiful. This paper is Bockenfood and it is still a cellulose paper but a lot more expensive watercolor paper, whereas this is Fabriano Academia, which is a lot cheaper cellulose paper. And this also is a cold press paper which has more texture, so you're going to see more granulation, and I think this is just absolutely beautiful. Maybe a brand needs to create that. The Viridian in both of these samples is from Daniel Smith. You do still see that beautiful jewel tone kind of color in a lot of these mixes. I particularly like Turner one, the Winsor Newton one, the Holbein one, but the top row of the mix of the Viridian with the complementary color of Scarlet Lake, these are mixed in the palette and then applied onto the paper, whereas this is put the Viridian on there and then add the color in. So if you're looking for more color separation and variance of colors, you get nice strong greens here and then nice reds here, then I recommend putting the two colors separately rather than mixing it homogeneously and then applying it on paper. Let's take a look. We have the Scarlet Lake, as I said, as its complementary color, Aureoline by Holbein, Quinacridone Rose by Daniel Smith, and Phthalo Blue Yellow Shade by Holbein, my usual three primary colors to mix with other colors. I would say that the lowest tinting strengths is MaimeriBlu, and then maybe the Daniel Smith and Holbein. They're quite similar. They're very low in tinting strength. And I would expect that from PG18 to be a lot more lower in tinting strengths than PG7. PG7, the Phthalos are one of the most highly tinting strength color out there. And this is what drives me insane. I mean, some brands are very good and call PG7 colors Phthalo green, which is what it should be called, but they put some very high tinting strength color and call it a hue, or one of the lowest tinting strength colors out there. Very, very frustrating from my point of view, and I'm sure from people's buying perspective, because they're not saying, hey, this Viridian is going to be basically the butterfly effect opposite of a genuine Viridian should do. And I don't agree with that. If you're going to do a hue, make it a little bit more similar than that. Make an effort is what I'm trying to say. All the PG18 ones will give you nice soft mixtures. I think out of the PG18 ones, the genuine ones, the Winsor Newton one is the highest tinting strength. You get pretty strong colors, and it's also quite high in tinting strength with the M. Graham one. So you have a good option. Do you want a really pale palette, soft ones, or a little bit more high in tinting strength ones? Then the highest tinting strength, as always, is Mission Gold. Mission Gold can be relied upon for really high tinting strength, but they're usually too high in tinting strengths compared to other brands, and this is by no means any different. Very, very, very high tinting strengths. That's almost a very dark black. Second will be Ken Bromley, and then the Van Gogh one was surprisingly not as strong high in tinting strength, but also we had that white opacity thing happening in the previous video, so I'm like, yeah, if it's not pigment that's causing that opacity and filler, and you got less greens in there, then it's going to be lower in tinting strength. So that, to me, suggests it's a little bit more likely for it to have fillers in, which is not surprising because it is a student grade paint, and you have to expect that with student grade paint that there might be fillers in there. I have to say, I just love the dual tone granulation coming through. I also love these two color mixes. You have the two-tone coming through, but it's this soft purpley lilac-y color, and it's gorgeous. I really recommend, if you like those dual tone colors, to experiment with genuine PG18 plus a transparent color, because that's how you make a dual tone and make two colors separate out, and see what kind of interesting mixtures you can get with that, because it's gonna look beautiful. If you want to do that and get a really good separation, I would recommend the M. Graham one out of the lot, because you get really strong color mixes that separate out. But again, that Daniel Smith one, if you just put the paint on and then layer another color on top, it also creates really strong mixes where you can go a lot stronger than what you can get by mixing on the palette. If this video has inspired you to try these colors, but you don't want to spend a whole load of money buying all the tubes, then I've got your back, because this month's Patreon exclusive dot card is the companion dot card to this video. It is the Viridian dot card. We have Daniel Smith, Holbein, Sennelier, Winsor Newton, M. Graham, Mission Gold, Rembrandt, and Old Holland. There's a ton of paint on these, so that you get to actually try them out thoroughly, mix it with the colors you already have, and even make some paintings with them to see if it's exactly what you're looking for. If you'd like to receive this dot card, then all you have to do is head on over to patreon.com/AutoKano and sign up to the appropriate tiers, and this dot card will be on your doorstep in no time. That is it for the Viridians. What did you think of all the colours? Do let me know in the comments down below which one is your favourite now and which one you want to try. For me, obviously, we can rule out all the PG7 ones, because when I'm going for a Viridian, I want that paler, more granulating color. Not saying that the PG7 Viridians are bad, in some brands like Holbein, they don't have a phthalo green. So if you are looking for a phthalo green and the brand doesn't have phthalo green as a color, you may find it under Viridian and see if it's a PG7, because then even though it's a different name, it is still a phthalo green. It's very confusing. It's one of my pet peeves, and it's one of the reasons why I do these videos, so that you guys don't have to buy the wrong versions. You might want this one or that one, but you can be very clear on which one you're going to get. I think which one you go for, it depends on what you're looking for. So I'm going to talk about those separately. In terms of PG18, I really like the Daniel Smith one. It's beautiful. It goes on smooth on even really cheap paper, and it is the heaviest granulating on cheap paper. So for cheap paper person that wants a genuine Viridian, this is the color to go for. If you are using cotton though, then the brands are more open to you. I recommend any of the Daniel Smith, Holbein, Winsor, Newton, M. Graham one. They all work really well on cotton paper. Down here, I would say, is the problem lot. And for one reason or another, these all have issues. Particularly, I wouldn't be able to recommend in good conscience Rembrandt, Turner and M. Graham. For these two, for being very, very hard to re-wet. There was some issue going on. I don't know what, but there is something going on with the tube that I got from Turner. And also MaimeriBlu, I've talked enough about how bad this one is in the first video, so I won't go on about it. But yeah, just avoid these four if you can, unless you have some very strong affection towards these brands, in which case, you know, I mean, you can buy whatever brand you wish to buy. I just personally wouldn't go for these four. In terms of PG7 colors, because you might just be looking for a phthalo green, I would go for Mission Gold over these two, because this one is a mix between phthalo green and Hansa yellow, and you might not want that. And the Van Gogh one, I'm about 80% sure that there's a fillers in that, and that might become an issue. It does make it lower tinting strength than it looks, and it should be. So by process of elimination, I would recommend Mission Gold's PG7 if you're looking for phthalo green. The Sennelier one is somewhere in between the two, so I would go for that one if you are looking for somewhere between the two. Maybe these are too pale for you, but maybe you want something granulating and not quite as strong as phthalo green, then go for the Sennelier one. The other thing to consider also is, because Viridian, the PG18, is hard to re-wet in general, if that is a concern for you and you want an easier time, then I would go for a brand that has honey in them, like Sennelier and M. Graham. These have honey in them, and they're gonna make your life a little bit easier than the other brands. The other brands do expect it to be hard to re-wet color anyway, and that's not a quality, it's just the pigment. I would again avoid Rembrandt and Turner for sure if re-wet is an issue for you, because these two just were very, very hard to re-wet. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, then do let me know by clicking the like button and let me know which one was your favorite color. If this video has convinced you to try any of these colors, then I have links down below to where you can get them, and that hugely helps without costing you anything extra. Hugely financially helps the channel, so thank you so much. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the Nickel Azo Yellow, so do look forward to that. And until then, I will speak to you in the next video. Bye!